In the endless, silent dark between the stars, a truth lay dormant, a secret the galaxy had worked hard to forget. For 3,000 years, peace had reigned, a long, comfortable peace that made entire civilizations soft, complacent, and dangerously naive. In the heart of the Nexus Prime, the Galactic Council, a grand assembly of 1,000 worlds, debated trivialities like trade routes and cultural exchanges in their glittering crystalline chamber. They were completely oblivious. They had no idea they were standing on the brink of their greatest mistake. The chamber shimmered with a soft, bioluminescent glow as representatives from countless species settled in. There was Kethrin, the four-armed diplomat from Xandros, his purple skin rippling with every breath. Floating beside him was Whisper, a gaseous being whose thoughts took the form of colored mists. Near a massive viewing portal stood the towering Gorath, a crystalline entity from the Silicon Fields, silent and unmoving. Presiding over them all was High Chancellor Mordain, an ancient being who had seen stars being born. Today's session was meant to be routine. A newly discovered planet needed to be classified. Some old space debris required cataloging. That was it. But then the holographic display flickered to life, showing a massive, derelict vessel drifting in the outer void, and the atmosphere in the room shifted. The ship was colossal, dwarfing even the largest council vessels. Its hull was scarred and blackened, looking completely dead. Another relic from the old wars, Kethrin announced dismissively, waving two of his arms. Probably some forgotten cargo hauler. Let's just have it scrapped for materials. But Gorath, the crystalline being, stepped forward, his body chiming softly. The markings are unusual. I recommend we investigate further before we dispose of it. Mordain barely even glanced at the image. We have more pressing matters than some ancient scrap metal. The Zenithar trade dispute requires our full attention. In the back of the chamber, mostly ignored by the senior council members, sat Rena, a young researcher from the Archives Division. Her species, the Thalorians, were famous for their obsessive attention to detail and flawless photographic memory. While the others bickered over trade, Rena's 6 eyes were locked on the holographic ship, scanning every inch of it. Something about those markings deeply troubled her. She'd seen them before, buried deep in restricted archives from the Dark Millennium, forbidden records from 3,000 years ago that no one was supposed to see. Her heart, all 3 of its chambers, began to race. Those weren't random scars from battle. They were letters, characters from a language that shouldn't exist anymore. A language that had been deliberately wiped from galactic memory. With trembling appendages, Rena activated her personal datapad, cross-referencing the symbols against her private research files. The match came back instantly, and a chill ran through her. High Chancellor. She spoke up, her voice barely a whisper in the vast chamber. The senior members didn't even turn around. High Chancellor, I must object to the disposal order. Mordain's ancient eyes finally shifted towards her. Research Specialist Rena, your department's opinion has been noted. Now, the matter is closed. But, sir, Rena pressed, those markings, they're human. The word hung in the air like a death sentence. The entire chamber fell into a stunned silence. Human. A name that hadn't been spoken in polite company for millennia. A species that was supposed to exist only in scary stories told to frighten children into behaving. Kethrin let out a harsh, barking laugh. Humans? The fairy tale monsters? What's next? You'll tell us you found evidence of the Shadow Eaters or the Time Weavers. The humans were real, Rena insisted, rising from her seat. And they were never defeated. They were contained. There's a very big difference. Whisper's gaseous form swirled with agitated colors. The humans are extinct. They destroyed themselves in a civil war 3,000 years ago. Everyone knows this. It's basic history. That's what we were told, Rena countered, her confidence growing in the face of their dismissal. But I've accessed the sealed archives. The truth is different. The humans didn't destroy themselves. They were given a choice: leave all known space forever, or face total extermination by the combined might of the old empire. They chose exile. Mordain's expression hardened into stone. Those archives are sealed for a very good reason, Research Specialist. The containment protocols were established to prevent panic and chaos. Well, then the protocols have failed, Rena said firmly, pointing a trembling appendage at the holographic ship. Because that vessel is a human warship, and if it's here, back in our space, that means they've returned. Gorath chimed loudly, his crystalline structure resonating with deep concern. If what you say is true, we must investigate with extreme caution. The old records describe human weapons that could literally atomize planets. Exaggerations and propaganda, Catherine scoffed. No species could ever possess that kind of power. The old empire feared human ambition and adaptability, nothing more. Even if they were dangerous once, 3,000 years in exile would have reduced them to primitives by now. Mordain raised a hand, silencing the chamber. Very well, research specialist Rena. Since you seem so convinced, you will lead a small investigation team to examine the derelict. You have 1 cycle to prove your theory. If you find nothing of significance, the ship will be scrapped as planned, and we will then discuss the serious consequences of wasting the Council's valuable time. Rena felt a surge of both terror and vindication. She bowed respectfully. Thank you, High Chancellor. I won't disappoint you. As the council session ended and the members began to disperse, Rena remained, her eyes fixed on the ghost ship's image. Her mentor, an old Thalorian named Beskith, approached quietly. You've just painted a massive target on your back, young one. The council does not appreciate being reminded of their ancestors' mistakes. I know what I saw in those archives, Rena replied softly, her voice filled with conviction. The humans weren't monsters, they were survivors. And when the old empire tried to control them, to limit their expansion and force them into submission, they fought back. They fought so fiercely that the empire needed every species, every fleet, every weapon they had just to push them back. The containment protocols, they weren't about protecting the galaxy from humans. They were about protecting the empire's pride. Beskith's eyes narrowed, processing the gravity of her words. And now you think they've come back? Rena nodded slowly. That ship isn't just drifting randomly. Its trajectory is deliberate. It's been traveling through dead space for centuries, maybe even millennia, following a carefully calculated path. And do you know where it's headed? Where? Beskith asked, his voice low. Here, Rena whispered, her gaze still on the hologram. To the heart of the council, to Nexus Prime. I think it's a message, or maybe it's a warning. Either way, we need to find out what it says before it's too late. Thanks for tuning in for this deep dive into the cosmos. What do you think the human ship is? A warning, a peace offering, or something else entirely? Let me know your theories in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what happens next. Rena's investigation team assembled in the docking bay 3 hours before dawn cycle. She had chosen carefully, selecting crew members based not on rank or species prestige, but on their willingness to question official narratives. There was Tavik, a grizzled security officer from the militant caste of Draxon, whose scales bore the scars of countless border skirmishes. His people valued truth over politics, which made him an outcast among the peacetime council forces. Beside him stood Linnea, a medical specialist whose gossamer wings and compound eyes marked her as one of the Lumini, a species known for their analytical minds and uncomfortable honesty. The fourth member surprised everyone. Dr. Venn, an elderly human studies scholar, shuffled forward using a walking apparatus, his frail body showing the wear of 3 centuries of life. Most believed his field of study to be purely theoretical, an academic curiosity with no practical application. His presence on this mission suggested otherwise. I never thought I'd see one with my own eyes, Venn whispered as their transport approached the derelict vessel. His voice carried a mixture of awe and fear that unsettled Rena. All these years studying fragments and redacted texts, and now this. The warship loomed before them, growing larger with each passing moment. Up close, its true scale became apparent. The vessel was at least 15 kilometers long, its hull composed of materials that Rena's scanners struggled to identify. The metal seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it, giving the ship a presence that felt almost predatory. "Scans are coming back strange," Linnea reported from the science station, her wings vibrating with agitation. "The hull is reading as both inert and active. There's energy somewhere deep inside, but it's like nothing in our databases. It pulses irregularly, almost like a heartbeat." Tavik's claws extended unconsciously, a defensive reflex his species couldn't control. Could be a trap. The old war records mentioned human deception tactics. Or it could be life support, Ven suggested. Human ships were designed to sustain crews for decades, even centuries in deep space. If anyone survived aboard that vessel, they've been drifting for 3,000 years. The thought sent chills through the entire team. Rena guided their transport to what appeared to be a docking port, though its design was alien to anything in current use. The airlock cycle took longer than expected, and when the doors finally opened, stale air rushed out, carrying with it the scent of metal and something organic that had long since decayed. They moved through corridors that seemed designed for beings much larger than any current galactic species. The walls bore markings in that human script Rena had identified, but also images painted directly onto the metal. Faces stared out at them from the darkness, human faces with expressions ranging from determination to despair. "These are memorials," Ven said softly, running his sensors over one wall. "Each face represents someone who died on this ship. Look, beneath each image there's a name, a date, and coordinates. They were documenting their losses, keeping a record so their sacrifice wouldn't be forgotten." Linnea's medical scanners picked up trace DNA throughout the corridor. Hundreds of individuals once walked these halls, maybe thousands, but the genetic markers are old, degraded. If anyone was alive here recently, it was centuries ago, not years. They pressed deeper into the ship, following the faint energy signature that Linnea's scanners detected. The corridors grew wider, leading them into what appeared to be a command center. Banks of dormant computer systems lined the walls, and in the center of the room stood a chair, clearly designed for command authority. But what drew everyone's attention was the holographic projector mounted above it, still glowing faintly with residual power. "It's still active," Rena breathed. "After all this time, some systems are still running." Ven moved to the nearest console with surprising speed for someone his age. His appendages flew across the interface, his decades of studying human systems finally proving their worth. Their technology was remarkably robust. Redundant systems within redundant systems. This ship could function for millennia without maintenance. The console responded to his touch, and suddenly the holographic projector blazed to life. A figure materialized before them. A human figure, tall and broad-shouldered, wearing what appeared to be a military uniform. The image flickered and distorted, but the eyes remained sharp and focused. "If you're seeing this message, then our journey has ended." The figure spoke in the human language, which Ven's translator quickly converted. "My name is Admiral James Blackwood, commander of the UESS Defiant, last of the human expeditionary fleet. We have been traveling for 2,873 years, by ship's chronology. For those aboard in cryogenic suspension, it has been only months. But for the universe we left behind, we are ghosts from another age." Rena found herself leaning forward, captivated by every word. This was real history, unfiltered by council censorship. "We accepted exile to prevent total war," Blackwood continued. "The Galactic Empire demanded we submit to their expansion limits, to accept our place as a minor species in their grand hierarchy. We refused, and we paid the price. 300 human colony worlds, 3 trillion souls, chose to leave known space rather than bow to alien rule. We loaded what we could into our ships and disappeared into the dark between galaxies." The hologram shifted, showing images of massive colony vessels, each carrying millions in suspended animation. An entire civilization in motion, fleeing persecution. "For 3,000 years we have wandered the void, searching for a new home far from the Empire's reach. We found many worlds, some suitable, some hostile. We adapted, we evolved, we survived. Our children grew up knowing Earth only through stories. Our technology advanced in isolation, following paths the Empire never imagined. And through it all, we remembered. We remembered why we left. We remembered what we were forced to abandon." Tavik's scales rippled with unease. "This is a testimony. He's building a case, justifying something. But now the exile ends," Blackwood's image said, his voice hardening. "Our long-range scouts have detected something the Council has tried to hide. The old Empire collapsed 2,000 years ago, torn apart by the very corruption and tyranny that drove us away. In its place stands your Galactic Council, claiming to have learned from the past, preaching peace and cooperation. Yet our scouts report the same patterns, the same restrictions on younger species, the same arrogance that caused our exile. The hologram leaned forward, and even through the flickering projection, the intensity of his gaze was palpable. This ship, the Defiant, is not a weapon. It is a message. We are sending it back to known space as proof that humanity endured, that exile did not break us. Behind us comes the return fleet, 300 colony ships carrying the descendants of those who fled. We are coming home not as conquerors, but as equals. We will reclaim the worlds that were once ours, and we will answer for our exile. Linnea's wings went rigid. He's threatening war. No, Ven corrected, his voice heavy. He's promising it. There's a difference, the hologram continued. We have sent this message knowing the Council will intercept it. We want you to understand what's coming. You have 1 cycle, by our calculations, to prepare. Use that time to decide if you will negotiate or resist. But know this, humanity learned many things during our exile. We learned patience. We learned unity. And most importantly, we learned that we never want to run again. We're done running. The image froze, then repeated from the beginning. The message was set on a loop, broadcasting endlessly. Rena's mind raced through the implications. 1 cycle, he said, 1 cycle. How long ago was this recording made? Ven worked frantically at the console, pulling up the ship's chronometer. His face went pale, a remarkable feat for his species. According to this, the Defiant entered known space 87 days ago. The message has been broadcasting for 87 days, but on such a narrow frequency that only a dedicated search would find it. We have 10 days, maybe less, before the return fleet arrives. Tavik immediately activated his communication device. Security Officer Tavik to Council Command. Priority alert. We have a developing situation. But before he could finish, every system on the Defiant suddenly blazed to life. Lights flooded the corridors, consoles hummed with power, and the entire ship began to vibrate with energy. The hologram of Admiral Blackwood vanished, replaced by a new figure, this one very much alive. A young human woman appeared, wearing a silver uniform with insignia that matched nothing in galactic databases. Her hair was cut short, military style, and her eyes held the confidence of someone who knew exactly what she was doing. Greetings, Council investigators, she said with a slight smile. My name is Captain Sonia Reeves, commanding the advanced scout vessel Pathfinder. We've been monitoring your approach with great interest. Before you try to warn your superiors, you should know we've already established communication with several border colonies, species your council has systematically oppressed for the past millennium. They're quite eager to hear humanity's story, so here's what's going to happen next. Captain Reeves's hologram walked through the command center as if she were physically present, her footsteps making no sound on the metal floor. Rena watched, fascinated and terrified in equal measure, as the human woman circled their small group with the casual confidence of a predator assessing prey. You're wondering how we knew you'd come, Reeves said, stopping to face them directly. The truth is, we've been watching the Council for decades. Our scout ships have been infiltrating known space for the past 40 years, observing, learning, making contact with those you've pushed to the margins. Did you know there are 17 species currently classified as developing, who possess technology far beyond what the Council permits them to use? They're kept deliberately weak, dependent on Council trade and protection. We've spoken with them. They remember their own stories of forced limitation, of being told they weren't ready for full membership in galactic society. Tavik's claws scraped against his weapon holster, but he didn't draw. You're trying to divide us, turn species against each other. No, Reeves replied, her expression sincere. We're offering them what was taken from us, choice. The freedom to determine their own destiny without a bureaucratic empire deciding what's best for them. She turned to Rena. You've read the sealed archives. You know humanity didn't ask for war 3,000 years ago. We only wanted the same rights as everyone else. The right to expand beyond arbitrary borders, to explore and settle worlds in our region of space. But the old empire couldn't tolerate a species that refused to follow their rules. Rena felt her heart's hammering. Everything she'd discovered in those forbidden files was being confirmed by someone who had lived the consequences. The empire claimed humans were too aggressive, too unpredictable. They said unlimited human expansion would destabilize the entire galaxy. And yet, Reeves countered, in 3,000 years of exile, humanity colonized over 400 worlds without a single internal war. We disagreed, we debated, we struggled with resources and ideology, but we never once turned our weapons on each other. Can the Council say the same? How many conflicts have been peacefully mediated by Council intervention in the past millennium? How many species have been quietly suppressed when they grew too independent? Linnea's wings trembled as she processed the implications. Her people, the Lumini, had long questioned certain Council policies but never dared voice those concerns publicly. You're asking us to believe that humanity, exiled and desperate, became more enlightened than those who banished them. Not more enlightened, Reeves said gently. Just more honest about our nature. We accepted that survival required cooperation, that our children deserved better than endless conflict. We built a society around that principle. Every human born in exile learned the story of Earth, of the beautiful blue world we could never return to. That loss, that shared grief, unified us in ways the Council could never understand. Dr. Venn stepped forward, his aged voice carrying weight. I've studied human culture for 3 centuries. Your species possessed something rare, the ability to hold contradictory truths simultaneously. You were capable of great compassion and terrible violence, of profound wisdom and shocking foolishness. That duality frightened the Empire because it made you unpredictable. It still does, Reeves acknowledged. But now we've had 3,000 years to refine that duality, to understand it as strength rather than weakness. The humans returning to known space are not the same ones who left. We've evolved not just biologically but philosophically. We understand what we're asking for, and we understand what we're willing to sacrifice to achieve it. The ship systems pulsed around them, a gentle reminder of the power contained within the ancient vessel. Rena realized this entire encounter had been orchestrated, that their investigation was exactly what Reeves wanted. You're not here to negotiate, are you? This whole message bringing us aboard, it's all theater. Reeves smiled, impressed. Very perceptive. No, we're not here to negotiate with the Council leadership. They've already made their position clear in classified communications we intercepted. High Chancellor Mordain has authorized military mobilization under the pretense of routine exercises. Within days, the Council fleet will be positioned to intercept our return fleet at the border of known space. They're planning to do exactly what the old Empire did, demand submission or face annihilation. Tavik's scales flushed with anger. Then why reveal yourself to us? Why not just attack? Because, Reeves said, and for the first time her confident demeanor cracked slightly, revealing genuine emotion beneath. We remember what war costs. Every human alive carries the genetic memory of exile, passed down through generations in suspended animation. We remember the faces of those who died defending the evacuation, the children who never saw their grandparents again, the artists and scientists and ordinary people whose only crime was being born human. We don't want that for anyone, not for your species or ours. So we're offering something the old Empire never did, a real choice. She gestured and the hologram expanded to show star charts marking hundreds of worlds. The return fleet isn't coming to reconquer human space. Most of our original colonies have been absorbed by other species or abandoned entirely. We're claiming only the uninhabited worlds we discovered during exile, systems beyond current Council borders. We're not displacing anyone, not demanding territory. We're simply asking to exist alongside you as equals. And if the Council refuses? Linnea asked, though she already knew the answer. Then we fight, Reeves said simply. But this time we're not running. This time we have nowhere to run to. 300 colony ships carrying 60 billion souls in suspended animation are depending on us to secure a future. We will do whatever is necessary to protect them. The weight of those words settled over the group like a physical force. Rena understood now why this meeting had been arranged, why they specifically had been chosen. You want us to carry a message back, not to the Council leadership but to the people. To those who will listen, Reeves confirmed. The Council speaks for billions, but those billions deserve to know the truth. They deserve to understand that the choice isn't between peace and war, but between inclusive peace and enforced submission. We're asking species across known space to stand with us, not against the Council, but for the principle that no governing body should have the power to determine which civilizations deserve freedom. Dr. Venn's ancient eyes glistened with moisture. You're starting a revolution. We're finishing one, Reeves corrected. The revolution began 3,000 years ago when humanity chose exile over subjugation. Now we're returning to see if the galaxy has changed, or if history will repeat itself. She looked directly at Rena. You risked your career accessing those sealed archives because you believed truth mattered more than convenience. Now I'm asking you to risk more than that. Take this message to those who need to hear it. Show them evidence of what the Council has hidden, of the species they've suppressed, of the pattern of control that has persisted for millennia. Give the people of this galaxy the same choice we're demanding for ourselves. Rena felt the enormity of the decision pressing down on her. Everything she'd worked for, her position, her reputation, her safety, all of it would vanish the moment she acted against Council interests. But she thought of those faces painted on the Defiance walls, those humans who had died so their species could escape tyranny. She thought of her own people's history, the compromises they'd made to gain Council approval, the aspects of Thalorian culture they'd abandoned because the Council deemed them inappropriate. If I do this, Rena said slowly, there's no going back. I'll be branded a traitor, possibly executed. Yes, Reeves acknowledged without hesitation. That's the price of standing for something. That's what makes it meaningful. Tavik shifted uncomfortably. The security protocols alone would make distribution nearly impossible. Council monitors scan all public channels. Then we use private channels, Linnea interjected, surprising everyone. My people maintain communication networks outside official systems. Cultural preservation, we call it. Though the Council has always been suspicious. We could reach thousands, maybe millions, before they shut us down. I still have contacts in academic circles, Ven added, his voice stronger than it had been in years. Scholars across dozens of worlds who question the official narratives. They would listen, and more importantly, they would verify the information before spreading it. Rena looked at each of them, seeing in their faces the same resolve she felt building within herself. They were about to commit treason against the only government they'd ever known, but somehow it felt like the first truly honest thing any of them had ever done. When the return fleet arrives, Rena asked Reeves, what will you do if the Council attacks? The human captain's expression hardened. We will defend ourselves with every weapon at our disposal, but we will also broadcast everything. Every action the Council takes, every shot they fire to every corner of known space. We will make sure the entire galaxy witnesses their choice, and then when the fighting is done, we will offer peace again, and again, and again, until either they accept us as equals or there's nothing left worth fighting for.